Yeah, so again, a lot of nuance comes from experience. These are things I've learned over a decade. Just like the US has a W-2 form, India has what you call Form 16, which is a certificate of tax deduction, which has the name of the employer, name of the employee, your gross wages, and taxes withheld on each of your pay period. It's an extremely important document to attach to your Indian source of funds, especially if you're employed in India. If you attach that along with your tax returns, along with your bank statements, you're in good shape, right? So again, Form 16 is the equivalent of a US W-2. Just like that, Form 1040, the Indian acknowledgement of tax record, along with the computation of income, is the equivalent of our US tax return. So you need to make sure that those documents are in order, and you have to provide last 5 to 7 years of those documents. The second thing is banking records. So in the US, the retention period for any bank records is 7 years. If you were to go to Bank of America and Chase and ask for documents pre-2016, you're not going to get it. In India, that document retention period is 10 years. So you can get documents, bank records as of 2013. You cannot make the argument to the government that, hey, I don't have my 2013 bank statement because it's outside document retention period. Again, under the India anti-money laundering rules, those records should be available. And from what I've seen from USCIS, they have also educated themselves on these retention policies. So if we quote or misquote something, we tend to get a pushback and say, hey, you're not right about this. Third thing is translations are extremely, extremely important. Again, most of India has bank statements in English. All the tax returns are in English. All the Form 16s are in English. So that is not usually a problem with ordinary income. Where we find problem is when you're liquidating an asset, the purchase and sale agreement are in different languages. One question I keep getting asked is, I had the salary, but I spent it. You know, I had the salary for 4 years, but I invested in real estate. Can I just get money from somewhere else and say, this is my salary? You can't, because that money coming from somewhere else is what US government's going to see and say, hey, where's that coming from? If you've invested that money in real estate or in shares, what you want to do is you want to liquidate those pieces so you can claim that the money came from your salary earnings. So it's very important not just to trace the money, but to show that the wealth has been maintained until you've made the investment in EB-5. And again, paying taxes is extremely important. If you're employed, that's very easy. India now has an electronic system. Employers just punch in the data and it shows how much tax you've paid and how much gross income you've made.
Got it. Got it. So there's a lot of things to really be aware of. How many, like over the years, have you ever had any, clients not eventually get approved with your guidance? Like tell us a little bit about your track record, and then also, how many clients have you kind of stepped in and helped who were originally working with another attorney who maybe didn't give the client the right advice or didn't include the right documents? How many of those types of cases have you kind of stepped in on?
So I've done about 550 EB-5s from beginning to end. I have had 0 denials. All my cases have been approved. We put a lot of time into our files. I have seen the big players usually do a great job, but I have seen the smaller players in the field that, because EB-5 is a big ticket item, tend to take on the cases and have no idea what they're doing. India is not like the United States. The systems are really, really different. And if an attorney does not understand that, it really makes an officer angry. I've had cases where I've stepped in where the government has questioned the entire resume of the applicant, and then we have to go back in time and provide, say, Form 16s for each employer, website for each employer, address where they worked, get a confirmation letter. Some of this requirement is really burdensome. I had a recent case where the government wanted me to go and get business registration documents because they did not believe that all these companies that this client was working for were real, because these were small businesses. So it's very, very important to do things right the first time. And it's extremely important for the client to be able to review what was filed before it was filed. Sam, a lot of the times when I get clients from other attorneys, they do not have a copy of what was filed. I have no idea what was said. And that just makes my life harder, because if I don't know what was said and I contradict what was said, that can result in an outright denial, and that can result in severe immigration consequences. So My advice to all the clients is that make sure that before anything is filed, you get to read the source of funds memo and you have a complete electronic copy of what is being filed, and you sign off on that before it's filed. Sam, the last thing I want to raise with ordinary income is a lot of investors in India have their own businesses that they draw ordinary income from. They'll draw salary from their own business. The government still wants to know how you got the money to start the business. They want to see the business's financials. At that point, that business is no longer a third party. It is a related entity. Once it becomes a related entity, you need to explain the source of funds for that entity.